you've had some exposure to some great coaches. I know that you've spoken in the past about how valuable your coaches have been to you in your career. What do you think as a coach now, as someone that now helps the next generation to achieve their goals? What do you think are some of the biggest coaching lessons you've learned from your coaches? Not so much about wrestling, but about coaching, about being a good coach. And which coaches in particular do you feel influenced you the most as a coach?
It's hard to name. I feel like I've been blessed with a lot of good coaches in my life that have helped me to this point. And if it wasn't for for having them in my life, it's like it's easy to get pushed away in a sport like this if you don't have people. But I think one of the biggest lessons is just to be relatable. Because when you know that somebody cares for you, when you know that somebody has your best interest in mind, like it's easy to trust them, and it's easy to grow together. So. And we had one coach in high school, Jeff Longstreth, who was like, one of the first guys that was like, in the weeds the whole time with us, like, got us to believe in ourselves and just let us know that, like, one, it's not going to be easy, but, two, I'm here for you, and, we're in this together. So I think having that relationship with a coach is absolutely the key to growth in the sport.
Absolutely, man. Well, let me ask you this too. There's something else I'm always really interested in hearing about people who do coach. Do you feel that since being a coach that your own wrestling has grown and improved from helping other people?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's a perspective thing. It's like, when you're an athlete, you're in the weeds and you don't necessarily see the progression that you're making. You don't necessarily see things from an outside perspective. So having that coach's mindset gives you like a step back. So I remember when I went to coach at the University of Virginia in 2015, like I honestly had no plans on competing. I just wanted to, coach and help develop other guys. And it was like through that progression of seeing things from a different perspective or taking some time off that I really felt like I was like jumping levels. And then from that, I started to start competing again. And here we are now. So I would say without a doubt, it's just an outside perspective and kind of understanding how hard it really is. When you're involved in it, it's like you might not really realize it, but when you have a coach on the outside looking in, it's easy to help.
Yeah. I like what you said there about the perspective shift. How when you're just going through it and grinding your way through as an athlete, it can be hard to see the trees. The trees above the horizon there. I also something I found too. I've never been a coach or anything, but as I've taught people that are brand new any sort of technique whatsoever, and I'm explaining it, I find myself reminding myself from my subconscious somewhere, like, okay, you put your hand here and do this because of this. And then I'm in my head like, oh yeah, that is why I do that. That's right. Yeah, I didn't really think, and then you're kind of reminding yourself of like the little pieces, the little fundamental pieces that make a technique work. Have you found that, have you found that to be something that happens to you as well? Like, does your own technique on the mat seem to improve just from teaching?
Yep. So perspective first, and then definitely technique. So then you can just, because from watching from the outside in, like you can see how angles work. You can see like pressure. You can see the momentum of a match as opposed to being in it where it's faster pace and it's easier to miss those things. So then when you break down technique, as a coach, translating it to an athlete, it's definitely easier to understand and articulate those things.
Absolutely, man. Let me ask you this: what do you think is the hardest thing about coaching so far? Like so far, because you're pretty young still, so you have a long career ahead of you. But so far, what's been some of the biggest hurdles as a coach that you've experienced?
I think it's just you can't do it for them, right? I think that's the hardest part. Is like, you can say the right things or say what you think the right things are, but at the end of the day, they have to feel it, they have to see it, they have to believe that they can do it. So I think it's really just getting them to be in a position where they feel like they can capitalize and trust what you're saying and wrestle to the best of their ability. So